Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.
Roach, and I listen to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Indeed you are, people. You listen to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. My name's Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, and welcome back to day two of the first test between South Africa and the West Indies. And when I say welcome back, I mean welcome back to the live call-in show. The time, as I've pressed record or go live, is 22:35 in the UK. That's 25 minutes to 11, people. You will not let this go till midnight. On God, this will not go to midnight. But welcome all, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to the show. As usual, the admin, it wasn't even on the screen at the beginning. It's scrolling now. You can find the Caribbean Cricket Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. We're now on Discord. You can find us there as well. Look in the video description to find that. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, do all of that jazz. If you'd like to support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, you can go to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket, or you can use the super chat icon function, if you're obviously watching through YouTube, and anything you can spare is welcome and appreciated. That's the admin out the way. Day two, people. In the description for the video, I put the Day 3 is supposed to be moving day in a test. Like, people say that that's the day when you pretty much work out who's going to win a test match, because that's when the most wickets fall and that's when the match is effectively set up. Well, for me, the moving day of this test match was today. How many wickets fell in the end? 16 wickets fell on day 2. As a reminder, South Africa started the day on 314 for 8. West Indies, I think, took about half an hour to dismiss the final two, to get the final 2 wickets. So South Africa were bowled out for 342. And we were always, in the day one call-in show, the whole premise was how much could West Indies make in reply. Demo came on the show and said that he would accept 300. Ravi, our South African resident, said he'd be surprised if West Indies would make 260 maximum. And Ravi was much, much closer. Bowled out for 212. It was very similar in some ways to the South African innings. At one point in the innings, when Raymond Reefer was dismissed, we were 169 for 4. We lost our last 6 wickets for 53 runs. And Amrik Nortje picking up 5 for 36 from 16 overs, 5 maidens, the pick of the bowlers. So much like South Africa, who at one point were 221 for 1 and then just collapsed in the evening session, where we took, 7 wickets in the evening session? In the evening session, we lost our final 6 or 7 wickets. And then when South Africa came out to bat, they lost 4 wickets in no time at all. So, what have I done here? Sorry, people, I just opened up YouTube whilst this was happening. Sorry, apologies for that. So, I've got a sweet in my mouth. So, what we've effectively seen across the first 2 days is when it gets to session number 3, both teams collapse. Now, what we need to understand is this. Are the collapses happening in session 3 of both days so far because both teams have brittle middle orders? Or are the collapses happening because the most is happening with the ball at that point of the day? It's probably a mixture of both. But I've just listened to Jason Holder's, and that's why I started this show late, because I was just listening to Jason Holder's post-match press conference. And Jason said that what he's noticed is that there's a lot of variable bounce in the track. And his argument was it doesn't matter when you're in. You're never truly in on this track. Not in the sense of there's bound to be a wicket, there's bound to be a ball that has your name on it, but more in just that the only way to really get in is to grind. It's never going to be a free flowing track. But that still doesn't explain for me why there's been such a huge cluster of wickets in the third session of the day. I mean, West Indies nearly tricked us. At one point, I'm sure most West Indian fans, I think when, who was at the crease? When Reefer and Chase were at the crease. So Reefer and Chase got to when Jermaine got out, it was 122 for 3. And then Reefer and Chase just fell shy of a 50-run partnership. And before Reefer got out, there was a point at which probably all West Indian fans were saying, okay, we're in this. We're in this. And I think most would have predicted at that point we might get within 50 runs of South Africa's total. We were never going to surpass it. At no point did I ever think we were going to surpass South Africa's total. But I thought we might get within, at one point, I thought we might get within 50 runs. But I remember because at one point in the day, Andrew, one of the followers of the Caribbean supporters of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, tweeted us and said, this is looking good. And I don't know if Andrew's watching the show. And I said to Andrew, remember, this is West Indies we're talking about. When we lose, we could easily lose 1, 2, 3 in quick successions. And that was about 2 hours before we then lost 4 in quick succession. So I think we always have to be realistic as West Indian fans that if you're a long-time West Indian fan, nothing that happened today isn't something that you haven't seen before. So there's no point in being vexed. There's no point in being angry about it. Like, we've got that in our locker. We always knew going into this tour that if the South African bowlers showed up at any particular point in time, we were probably going to lose wickets in clusters. So it just is what it is. I see a couple of you saying, so Matt Pryor says this pitch isn't a grinding pitch. Well, it's not a free-flowing pitch, so what do you call it then? Javon says it's not a grinding pitch. I disagree. If there's a shot to be played, there's a shot to be played. But if you're not going to be able to play shots on this wicket and get away with it. So if it's not a grinding pitch, what are you calling it? Because it's not a free-flowing pitch whatsoever. Jermaine Blackwood probably showed West Indian batters the best way to play on this wicket, which is if there's a ball to be hit, you've got to hit. You've got to hit it whilst you still can. But at the same time, you still got to respect the balls. Remember what I said yesterday on day one, the day one call-in show. Every time you assess an innings, you have to weigh it up based on how many wickets were given away versus how many wickets the bowlers actually got people out, right? For South Africa in their first innings, I established that 5 of those wickets, at least, South African batters gave it away. So when you go through the West Indian innings, who gave it away, right? And here's my assessment of it. Shandapur gave it away. Jermaine Blackwood, I think Blackwood didn't give it away. He played a poor shot. Some of you will say he got beaten for pace. I think he played a poor shot. I think he was trying to play. I don't know what he was trying to do, to be fair. I think Blackwood gave it away, to be honest. When I say gave it away also means got out too easily, in fairness. So Shandapur got out too easily. I think Blackwood got out too easily. De Silva got out too easily. Alzarri Joseph got out too easily. That's already 4. I think, was Holders too easy? I thought Holders was soft, you know. I think there's at least 5 dismissals in the West Indian innings where you could argue the dismissals were soft. So when people are saying, there's a bit of variable bounce, which there is, yeah, cool. But in those circumstances, you still have to be got out. You can't give it away. So, for example, Craig Brathwaite got out. He didn't give it away. Rabada produced an absolute perler to get rid of him. There's nothing Craig Brathwaite could do about that. I got no issue with a team collapsing if a bowler produces an absolute perler of a delivery and you just have to hold your hands up and say, you know what, you done me. If everyone got out similar, in a similar vein to how Craig Brathwaite got out, then you just have to hold your hands up and say, South African bowlers are just a better unit. They just have a better bowling unit than we do, or that we've faced before. But can we really say that South Africa's bowlers got us out? They kept going. They stuck manfully to their task. But come on, I think 5 of our dismissals minimum were soft. So in that context, you can look at the collapse and say, boy, 212 was well under par. At the bare minimum, based on how the pitch was playing and based on some of our dismissals, West Indies should have made at the bare minimum, at the bare acceptable minimum, 250 to 260 at the bare minimum. So it's still well under par. So although I'm saying, boy, we've seen this before, we shouldn't be too vexed. We know that West Indies have got this in the locker. I still think it was very much under par, and I still think it was disappointing in the manner in which they collapsed. That's not to be overcritical. I think that's just facts. I think it was disappointing in the manner they collapsed. The good thing though was having given up a lead of, I can't remember what the lead was. Was it like 130 or something like that? Having given up a lead of 130, it would have been easy for the West Indian bowlers to come back out in the, what was it, like the last, how many overs did we get? 1 second, let me find it. How many overs did we bowl in that evening session? 8. It would have been very easy for the West Indian bowlers to come out in that evening session, heads down, body language poor, and just say, boy, here we are again. We're about to get turned over. But they turned up. Alzarri probably, well, this is not even probably, this is the best test match he's ever had. 5 for 81 in the first innings. Came out, led from the front again, took 2 wickets. Kemar Roach rolled back the years a tiny piece by reminding people why he's dangerous round the wicket to left-handers. There was a period of time about 2 years ago in Kemar Roach's career where you knew that if he came round the wicket to a left-hander was going to get out no matter what. So Kemar produced one of those throwback deliveries to get rid of, was it Dean Elgar? Who did he get rid of? No, Dazorzi. And then Holder right at the death pinned Keegan Peterson on the crease. So, I mean, at the end of the day, South Africa 49 for 4. Obviously, Aidan Markram looks like he's playing a completely different game to everybody else, but we still took 4 wickets. So South Africa lead by 179 runs. Is the test match over? No, not on paper. Realistically, what would West Indies need to... Okay, here's my prediction. If West Indies have to chase anything higher than 275, we're definitely losing. If they had to chase anything around 250 to 260, you lot are going to be surprised by what I say here. I think they've got a 25% chance of winning the match. If it gets to 275 and above, then the chances of them winning fall to 5%. Okay, so I think realistically, for those people who rally and convince themselves that West Indies can win from any position, realistically, you've got to say 250, 260 is we're in the game. 275 and above, you've got to be sensible and say we're not in the game. But as long as we give it a good go, who knows, you know? So that's kind of how it is. Sorry, didn't even say big up Jason Holder. Second West Indian ever to reach, 150 test wickets, and is it 2,500 runs? I know Jason is coming under a lot of stick, and I know people are saying that we have to question Jason Holder in test cricket because of his recent form since 2022, but that doesn't mean we don't salute, okay? When the only other test cricketer to do it is Sir Garfield Sobers, or Gary Sobers, and then the next person to do it is Jason Holder. You have to rate it. You have to respect it. And we must always, when Jason Holder finally retires from Test cricket or even West Indies duty in general, we've got to give him his flowers. The guy has served West Indies cricket manfully. And yes, there's some genuine critique to be had about his current form in general, but we have to salute that. 150 Test wickets, 2,500 Test runs, salute every time. So big up Jason Holder for that. But anyways, this is a live call-in show, people. I didn't want to talk too long. Yesterday's intro was about 20-25 minutes. This one's 15 minutes because I actually want to try go to bed at a good time today. So live call-in show. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Anyone who wants to jump on, come jump in. Let me find that link. Yeah, anyone who wants to come on and talk, come talk your shit. So the link is in the chat. What do you think about the test match? What do you think about the test match? Are you disappointed? Is there anybody who you felt let the team down? Do you believe we can still win? Whatever you think the key talking points are. Links in the chat. Whoever wants to jump on and talk, come talk. Let's get onto this. Let's get onto this, people. There's about 10 of you yesterday. Didn't want me to go to bed at all. But yeah, let me know, people. So yeah, just talking through whilst I wait for some people to jump in on the link. So in that second innings, South Africa's second innings, Kemar Roach 4 overs, 1 for 28, very expensive, but like I say, got rid of Dazorzi. Alzarri Joseph 4 overs, 2 for 17. And what was the one? What was the ripper delivery that he bowled? Was it to Temba? It was an absolute snorter of delivery. Yeah, it must have been to Temba, the one that the rise in delivery that kissed the outside edge. Absolute snorter of a delivery to get rid of Temba, and obviously got rid of Elgar as well. And then Jason, like I say, bowled 1 ball before play was called off and pinned Keegan Peterson, LBW for 7. Anyways, we've got some people in the background. Let's bring them on. Sheldon's up first. Hi, Sheldon. How you doing?
I'm good. Evening all. Mash, it seems like the period between tea and the end of the day is the most dangerous time of the day to bat. It happened yesterday evening. It happened on the first evening. It happened on the second evening. I honestly believe that once we could take South Africa, the remaining wickets, hold them to 150 in the second innings, I suspect that we can win the game chasing 280.
What do you think is happening in that evening session, though? What do you think it's in the players' minds, or do you think that conditions actually are harder to bat in the evening? I've not really seen anything like that in a long time, where you wait for one specific session and then everything starts happening.
Well, it could be the light. You know, some grounds you get a different view according to the time of the day, so that batting becomes difficult. Some grounds, you know, a lot of wickets fall in the morning session, but once you reach afternoon, it becomes easier to bat. You know, I guess different grounds is different times of the day.
Yeah, no, that's true. Because in fairness, if the roles were reversed and it was happening in the morning session, we would just take that for granted and be like, well, you know, that's what happens. You know, wickets up front and then the pitch flattens out during over the rest of the day. It's just that we happen to see it, seen it in reverse. But that notwithstanding, Sheldon, I still think some of the dismissals were soft.
Well, clearly they were soft, but you see, the thing is, South Africa have a world-class bowling attack. You have to admit, because they went to Australia and they had Australia on the back foot. Unfortunately, their batsmen couldn't back up the bowlers. If South Africa had better batsmen, they may have beaten Australia in Australia.
Certainly in that first test, yeah. I think they would have been far more competitive. And then, yeah, I agree with you with that. I mean, overall, though, are your sentiments, are you disappointed? What's your overall sentiment based on the stage of, have West Indies performed to what you thought they'd do? Or like, how do you feel they've performed in general? What's your overall sentiment?
The bowlers would have done well. I thought I would have gotten at least an equal score from the batsmen in that. I wasn't looking for a big lead, but I wasn't looking for 130 run deficit either.
Yeah.
And
So you,
I
go on. Sorry,
think
go on.
that our batsmen knowing the situation, because Rifa gutted it out, he grind it out, and then the other batsmen and them kind of bat without sense, if you want to put it that way, because we just on the second day of the test.
Yeah.
So there's no need to rush. Getting a lead was more important than scoring quick runs.
Mm.
I mean, we's West Indies, we in England, we don't have to play no basketball.
No, it's true. It's true. I do wonder when the batters look back on their dismissals. I do think that some of them will be. You know how it goes. Like obviously the saying is 1 wicket brings 2, but with West Indies 1 wicket tends to bring 3 or 4 in clusters. And yeah, it was just, I don't know, Sheldon. It was a bit disappointing because we saw a genuine fight for at least half of the day with the bat. And it got to that point where I nearly believed that we were truly turning the corner. I nearly fell for it. And just as I was about to say, maybe we're actually a genuinely good side now away from home against better teams than us, then the familiar collapse happened. But we don't give up hope, Sheldon. You say bowl out South Africa for less than 150 and we're going to win, yeah?
Yep. It will be interesting. It will be interesting to know what Brian told them after the day's play, because I guess he's right there in South Africa with them.
Yes, of course. I mean, and at the end of the day, tomorrow is only a day 3 pitch. This isn't the pitch. The pitch isn't playing like okay, yeah, there's some variable bounce, but it's not significantly deteriorating. So it's not outside the realms of possibility that if this is me dangling the carrot of false hope now, it's not outside the realms of possibility that if everybody just applies themselves, that they could chase a sub 300 score. They in theory they could chase it. And I think my point ultimately, Sheldon, is if you get a delivery like Craig Brathwaite got, then we can actually look at the batters and go, you know what, there was nothing they could do about it. But if you don't get that kind of delivery, then there's nothing to say that you can't bat patiently on that track and piece by piece chase a total down.
Right, because if we take them out by the end of tomorrow or even by tea, actually, I would prefer they bat until the end of the day tomorrow, because if a lot of wickets fall in between tea and the end of the day, I don't want to bowl them out and then be 4 or 5 wickets down. I rather prolong it a little bit. With some tight overs, they're not scoring many runs, right? But I'm not taking the wickets and then come out and bat probably the whole of the 4th day to try to get as close as possible to the score and win it on the 5th day.
But Sheldon, if the aim is to let South Africa bat the whole day on day 3, they're going to make more than 100 runs, you know. so how slowly are we going to try and force them to bat if they're batting the whole of day 3? Because listen, right, they're 179 runs ahead. They're currently on 49 for 4. Whilst you were talking, I wrote down some. You say bowl them out for less than 150. That means they can only make 100 more runs in the day, and that would give them a lead of effectively 280, 279. I think if we're bowling them out for less than 150, we're bowling them out before. I'm saying we bowl them out before lunchtime or on the stroke of lunch, if we realistically want to have a go at this. And then I'm with you. Don't get me wrong. I'm not looking forward to us then having to bat post tea. But in an ideal world, you probably want to be batting straight after lunch.
Yep. Well, that ain't bad either. I mean, if we could come and take them out in 20 overs in the morning session, um, go in just before lunch, take some shine off the ball,
Mm.
and then
Put the
make
flat
some runs
roller on the
after
pitch,
lunch.
the heavy roller. Sorry. You hear that? Yeah.
Say that again.
Yeah, I'm saying yeah, because then if you have that situation, then at the lunch interval you ask for the heavy roller, and then you make hay between the lunch and tea interval, and then if the madness comes after tea, the madness comes, you know. But our best bet is to set a foundation between lunch and tea. That's my argument.
Yeah, try to get about 100 runs.
Yeah, something like, well, I don't know about Craig and Tage doing that, but maybe 46. But some kind of foundation all the same. But listen, Sheldon, I've got loads of people in the background as well, so I'm going to
Yes,
bring on some more people.
of course.
No problem. Thank you for coming on, yeah?
Sure.
No problem. Take care. Yes. Loads of you in the background, people. You lot think I'm going to stay up till midnight. No. And the joke is this. Tomorrow is strike day. We're on strike again as teachers. So technically I can stay awake, but I'm refusing to. I'm refusing to for you lot. So it's not happening. But Rahul, I'm bringing you on, man. Yes, Rahul.
Yeah, man. How are you?
How you doing? You might want to speak up a bit, Rahul.
Yeah, sorry about that, man. Mic
All
one.
good.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. I can't say I'm disappointed. We kind of get immune to the overtime. You know, you think it could happen. You know, at like when we were 3-0, I was like, this is good. This is a little fighty. You know, they went fast. But anyway, um, honestly, South Africa in a better position to win this match. You
Yeah.
could tell yourself whatever you want. Like realistically, the plan for them is bat through to T, declare, and then roll we over in the final session. And I mean roll we unless Tage and Craig just batten down. I mean like properly just stamp and just take blows or whatever they gotta do. But they could only do it for so long, honestly. So the way I see it, South Africa is better place to win the game.
You know what
But
though, Rahul?
yeah,
Sorry, just interjecting there because before South Africa came out to bat again, in the evening session, I put a tweet where I said actually, so it was I think I tweeted this just after we got all out, and I stand by it because what I said was when you really look at the synopsis of the Test match so far, the only difference between the two sides is South Africa had an opening stand. That's it. Their middle order, arguably, might even be more brittle than ours. To be fair,
yeah,
I would argue that our middle order potentially might even shade their middle order in terms of who you'd back to make some runs. Not by much, but it may well shade theirs. But when you look at the synopsis of the match, we took a while to get going with the ball, but once we did get going, we took wickets. So the only reasonable difference between the two sides at this stage is Elgar and Markram laid a foundation and their middle order didn't kick on. Shandapal and Brathwaite didn't lay a foundation. And that's not to criticize them, but we kind of knew going into this series that our best bet was if Shandapal and Brathwaite laid a foundation, because then our middle order might be able to do a little bits and pieces here and there. So I don't think the two sides are... The scorecard might say South Africa are 179 runs ahead of us and on course to win the Test match, but I don't actually think the gap's that big between the two sides. Do you think I'm lying to myself?
honestly, no. And the thing about this, for a while in the match, in the course of play, it didn't matter that Tage and Craig didn't fire.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
Raymond came in and then Blackwood came in. And you made a comment a couple weeks ago. I was on in the first test versus Zimbabwe. You said our middle order was 1 in 3. They would play 1 in 3. I don't know if you remember that. Like 1 in 3 performances would be good. And that was it, The top order, Craig and Chandapal didn't lay the big foundation, right? But Raymond, Rifa, and Jermaine Blackwood came in and they did the 1 in 3 thing, right? And they laid the foundations. Then the problem was even Chase made some runs, but Holden and De Silva, right? At that point when we lost them, Holden and De Silva should have made a bigger contribution.
Yes, definitely.
But to your point, And we've proved it. Well, whether we've proved it or whether it's whatever's going on with the pitch, their middle order is brittle, and there's something to
Yeah.
look at for the next test.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. 100%.
but you have to wonder whether it's going to happen again tomorrow morning with Klassen. I don't think he might fail again, and he didn't fail the first time. But well, yeah, he could. But if we do get one of those two guys out, either Klassen or Markram, we have a good shot at them.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm 100% agree with you. I think
Yeah.
I think the whole of South Africa's innings completely depends on how quickly we get one of Markram or Klassen. If we get one of them early, I actually think we will roll South Africa over. I
Good.
legitimately think we might do that. If they even bed in for 20 to 30 runs, long day ahead of us from that point onwards. So I do think a lot hinges on if we can get rid of one of them in the first half hour of play.
In the first half hour, you get rid of one of them, you open Mutusami and Janssen in the bottom
You
order,
open up an end
and
immediately.
then that right there gives you a game plan. If you get
Yeah.
them out, if you roll over South Africa in the first hour tomorrow, and you bat to T, Tage and Craig bat to T, how much ever they make, it doesn't matter how much they make. If they make 50 from halfway through the first session to T, if they make 50, it doesn't matter. What matters is they stand up there during T and just block everything. The moment it starts to get little, whatever going on with the pitch, and everybody got their own theories, the moment it starts to happen, just stand there and block it. Even if you don't score much, if you score 30 runs in the afternoon session, I don't care. What matters is then you get through to day 4 and you have 2 sessions to chase.
Yeah.
Till the T course strikes again. So that's what matters. It matters get in through that T session. Whoever's batting, get through the T session, right? Minimize the damage. Because Rabada and Narkia have shown what they can do. And when you get through Rabada and Narkia, you bring in Janssen. When you get through the Janssen, you bring in Kotzia, right? Who is on debut, but that doesn't make him any less of a bowler, right?
Yeah.
So the South Africans have an attack, right? Even without what's going on with the pitch, they have an attack to pierce you. Get through that T session. Get to the next morning, and you have the first session and the second session, right? You can bat then. It's been shown to be a better batting pitch in those first 2 sessions. Get to those first 2 sessions on day 4.
So hold on. What was the song in the background though? I was listening to that still.
I have no clue. It's just a fella just drive down the road, just like that. I didn't even hear the car coming. The car was amazing. Thing jumped me.
Listen, Rahul, I shouldn't ask this question because people are going to be saying I'm bad minding the side, but I have to ask it all the same because I think we have to be realistic.
Yeah.
Since South Africa's readmission to cricket, we've toured South Africa 4 times, right? 98, 99, 2003, 2004, 2007, 2008, and then 2014, 2015. If anybody's got time to go and have a look, most of those matches, put it this way, off the top of my head, sorry, let me just go back and double check. Off the top of my head, those 4 tours, we played in total about 14 test matches. At least 3/4 of them, we lost by an innings and something, or 180 runs, over 150 runs defeat, right? Most of our matches against South Africa in South Africa, apart from that one random test we won when Bravo was captain in 2008, I think it was, we don't even get close to them in their own conditions. So I say all that to say the following. What would you accept as a heroic defeat? Let's say we don't. Let's say we've got no realistic chance of winning this test. What would you accept as a? You know what? That was a good test match. We didn't win, but they battled. What's a good defeat?
If let me say, can we being a bit fairy tale-ish about it, right? Let me say the Pylon runs tomorrow. Let me say the Mech will do the 300 declare, right?
Yeah.
If it comes that maybe you lose a few wickets in the afternoon session, but what I want to see is, as you said, get out. Don't give your wicket to me, right? Fight fit. To me, there got 2 things that could happen in any situation where there's competition, right? You can lose or they can win, right? Which seems like a repetition of the same thing, but it's a bit different in that if you lose, it shows that you fought, right? You stood there, you fought, right? And it took them really prizing you, right? Really getting at you to get rid of you. If they win, it sounds like they just roll you over. So I want
Yeah.
us to lose. Don't let them win. Let them go into that next test and think, shit, this is a tough side to play, right?
Right. Okay.
So actually, 300 and being realistic that they may make a little 300, just fight with the bat, right? Tage and Craig, just calm it, in a tea session if we got bat. Calm down, do your thing, block it, make your little runs, get to the next day, and then we could play with shots. But still, play sensibly. Don't like the waft that the Silver make at the ball. Forget out. That really just pissed me off, honestly. So don't do things like that. And I know it's very easy to say and very hard to do, but like just play sensibly.
Make it hard for us
Make it,
to
yeah.
be defeated
Yeah.
in essence. Yeah.
Because
I
we're
hear you,
showing
Phil.
signs, we're showing signs. Because we went to Australia, I think we took both them tests, if I remember right. We took both them tests to the final day. And the
Yeah.
South Africans didn't do it. If the South Africans could go there and don't do it, and we did it, And I know Zimbabwe is not a big test, but we play well in Zimbabwe. We win a test, we draw the test because it's rain. So, keep fighting. Just fight. Just show that you're willing to be there and play the game properly,
You know what, Rahul? You've amped me up. I'm ready. Yeah, we're gonna win this test match.
Don't,
Yeah, I'm
don't
ready,
get it.
Rahul. I'm
No,
ready.
no. That's the point. You're setting yourself up. No, you're setting yourself up.
But you're right, though. You're right. Listen, Rahul, I'm going to go to the next guest, but thank you for coming on, yeah?
Yeah, man. Thank you.
No worries. Take care. Listen, people, do you know what I'm going to do next? I'm going to bring on two people at once because I'm looking in the chat and I see two DR people on there. They must know what I'm talking about right now. I'm going to bring them both on. They can't escape me like this. What are we saying? Don Robbie specialist, yeah? We're gonna bring them on. Oh, what are we saying out here? We're gonna bring them both on and see how they cope with this. People, I'm bringing on Shane and I'm bringing on Neeks at the same time. Some of you, I'm sure, know both, but you know what? Let me just bring them on and do my thing. Yes, Neeks and Shane, what are you saying?
What's up, man?
I'm good. I don't even know how I'm going to do this one. I might just hand it over to you two to just talk and I'll just moderate.
I'm not going to lie, Nick, I see the other day on DR for the Man United game, the Man United and Barcelona game. Yeah.
Like, Neeks is feeling good about himself. Man United have found life. Neeks,
I'm a United fan as well, so obviously.
Okay. Pure smiles.
Listen, gentlemen, what's your assessment of the state of play in the test match?
I'm gonna let Neeks go first,
Every time I thought I was out, they pull me back in. That's West Indies, isn't it? I thought, listen, I can never give up on West Indies, innit? But throughout certain matches, you're like, yeah, this match is done. This match is done. And somehow West Indies just love playing with my emotions because the way South Africa were going in the first two sessions of the game, so the first day, the game was over. 200 for one. Like, where are we gonna come back from there? Somehow we drag it back. Yeah, all right. And then we end up 169 for 3, and you're like, okay, Reefer, Chase, they're going well. Not too many problems. Not like they were getting beaten outside the off stump every other ball or anything like that. It was just good competitive test cricket. And we were batting well. And you're thinking, okay, let me go down, get a little lunch or whatever. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. From 169 for 3, we went to 212 all out. That's what? 7, you're talking 40 runs? 7 wickets for 40 runs? Something like that?
Yeah, 7 wickets for 40. 7 wickets for 47 runs or something ridiculous like that.
I said, no, not again. Not like this. Not like this. The last caller, Rahul was saying, we'll probably get onto that. There's a way to lose, and of course the game got lost now, but there's a way to lose, and there's a way to lose your wickets, and there's a way to, get dominated by a certain side. But to go through this, we call it collapso cricket all the time, is just so frustrating. And I thought, okay, the game over, isn't it? Go on.
I was going to say, what's kind of funny? Because it also reminds me a little bit of the Australia series. Do you remember when West Indies, Australia declared, and then Tage and Chandra Paul had that good partnership, and then Bonner got hit in the head, and he soaked up so much deliveries and went until lunch. and you just think to yourself, Australia's batted out basically the best part of 2 days, and we're halfway through day 3. And then you think, if we can bat until the end of day 3, there's a chance we can draw this game. And we lost all of them wickets.
It's the moment you think, if as the eye leap enters your brain, the wickets start tumbling.
But you know what? I think we made a small mistake though, because Mash brought up a good point, which was like about that middle session. It looks like the best time to bat. If you think about it, I think when we actually saw off the first morning and we went into day 2 and we lost that wicket of Blackwood. If you look, Blackwood was the one who was actually scoring faster of Reefer. And I would have actually put Mayers in ahead of Blackwood.
I'm glad you've mentioned this.
Wait, sorry. 1 second. Mayers ahead of who?
I would have put Mayers in ahead of Chase. Only reason why is because if Reefer got out, I would have brought in Chase. Because Chase is a much more defensive batsman. The moment Reefer and Chase came in, we were in a situation where, and I remember the South African umpire saying, if you remember at that time, Blackwood was looking for quick singles. Chase was just soaking up deliveries. And I just thought at that time, if we brought in Mayers and we had a quick fire 50 partnership, all of a sudden at that time where you saw them bring on that spin bowler who's a big part spin bowler, you may have seen a bit of desperation to take wickets. And I felt like we were just soaking up deliveries but not scoring runs. And I just thought at that point we should have brought in Mayers. And I just think if Mayers fired like how he did and just scored at a quicker pace, it would have relieved the stress of Reefer, who was set and in, and the pressure would have been back on South Africa.
Yeah, so this is what's quite interesting is that in many ways, Reefer played the innings that we would expect from Bonner if Bonner was playing, which is fine. That's not a criticism. That's a good thing, right? But when somebody plays that type of innings, the other person has to be moving the game along. Chase was never, he was compact, but he was never really in, if that makes any sense, right? And I just thought, like, I was surprised to see Chase come out at 5. So what that means is in the last 3 series, we've seen Chase called out from the Wilderness to go and be frontline spinner in Australia and bat number 8, go to Zimbabwe and be told you're now an all-rounder batting at 6, and now come to South Africa and now he's in the top 5. When you think of it like that, that's a wild transformation to basically put him back in the position he was in when he got dropped in the first place, right? Whatever. But the point is, if anyone's part of our Discord channel that I've set up, when Blackwood was at the crease, I put in the Discord chat, Blackwood's actually the most important player in the West Indies team, which caused quite a bit of a discussion. But the point I was trying to make about Blackwood is him and Mayers are the only 2 players that have the ability to put pressure back on the bowlers from an opposition side. Blackwood is more consistent than Mayers, which is why I said Blackwood's the most important player. And I think, Shane, your point is valid, therefore, to say, once Blackwood got out, you needed to keep the momentum up. Because surely...
This is it for me, because I put it into my group chat with my brothers, and Natural Mystic is in the chat as well now. And I said, why is Chase coming ahead of Mayers? And I didn't want to go in on Chase. I thought, let me check the scorecard. He wasn't scoring too slow. I think it was about strike rate, maybe just under 50 or thereabouts. But I was like... For me, I don't want to have Blackwood and Mayers at the crease at the same time. It's probably too much. But then on the other side, you don't want Reefer and Chase at the crease at the same time because it's too much the other way. And considering our batting lineup, you have Tage and Brathwaite right at the top, very defensive batsmen. Then you have Reefer or Bonner, whoever it is. But in terms of balance, they're going to be, solid, not really progressing the scoring at a quick rate, but just doing a solid job as a number 3. Blackwood comes at number 4, cool, he accelerates it. For me, the Mayers and Chase, that position should be flexible depending on the situation of the game.
That is a fact. That's a fact.
The fact that Chase came in there showed that we weren't really thinking about the game. We had a set plan at the beginning, and Chase was coming at number 5. And whatever the situation of the game, Chase was always going to come in at that position because that state of the game, if Reefer got out, cool, bring in Chase. But because Blackwood got out, you have to bring in May because Chase isn't a better batsman than Mayers. I don't care what the most recent score says. I watched cricket. We've seen cricket. Chase is not a better batsman than Mayers, and the situation called for a Mayers more than a Chase. So what would be the justification for bringing Chase, other than the fact that that was the plan at the start of the game? Well, things change as the game goes on, and we have to adapt. And I think that's where we sometimes fall down in general in West Indies cricket. We don't adapt to the state of the game. Go on, Shane.
I was gonna say though, like I also feel like, and I actually wanted to be a little bit progressive because I heard Sheldon say if we bowled him out for 150, I think that number is very, very key. And I think it's also important that if we don't bat majority of that middle session, we're losing this game. If we let South Africa bat that middle session, they're winning.
Yeah,
they bat majority of that middle session, they're winning.
Sheldon was cracking me up. Sheldon was like, let them bat for the rest of the day. I'm like, I want a world record Chase.
It's important. But what I feel though, it's also very, very important to mention, and I mentioned this the last time I was on Mash, which was about West Indies bowling in away conditions and how we don't bowl. We bowl what we believe is our best bowling, but we actually don't bowl what's in front of us. And I'll tell you why. To this point, we still haven't done that. Markram always gets our LBW. Majority of the deliveries that we're bowling are off the stumps. We have to bowl wicket to Markram, and I haven't seen anyone try to do that. And you brought up another good point. I'm just going from point to point, which was how many people gave away their wicket versus how many people actually got out to good deliveries. And I feel like both teams are susceptible to the same thing. But the difference with South Africa is in between those wicket-taking deliveries, they bowl a very good consistent line and length where they're not going for runs. Whereas even when we were blocking and we had our best session, we were only going at 2.2. So we're still not going for runs. We're not getting away from them.
Even the last session, I thought we bowled some rubbish balls out there.
All over the place, bro. All over the place, bro.
It was wayward.
And a 49 for 40, like, great session. But considering you're 100, and again, it's not the bowler's fault while we're 100 odd behind at the start of the innings. But again, you have to adapt to the situation. Yes, we're going for wickets, but Roach is trundling at 80 odd miles an hour, and just some half volleys on the leg stump, and you're like, come on, man, we have to be tighter than that. So
with us free on, can I ask everyone a question? Because I mentioned this to Mash before, and I'm going to mention it to you, bro. When are we gonna say Holder is due a drop? Bro, I'm sorry, yeah? And I'm going to say this. When was the last time this guy made runs?
Let me throw it back to you. Who would you drop him for?
Let me show you.
Someone, then I'm willing to entertain
I will answer that question. In my opinion, when Jaden Seals comes back in the team, you drop Holder. Let me tell you why. You either get a specialist batsman or you get a specialist bowler who's going to help you take 10 wickets. I don't want a bit part batsman and a bit part bowler, because the truth is he's not helping us with runs and he's not really helping us that much with the ball.
On the balance of the 11 that we got now, let's say we dropped Holder and we brought in Seals. So you would have Gabriel, Roach, Alzarri.
I actually would drop Gabriel for Gudikesh Moti.
Okay, but you basically you're having 4 specialist bowlers
because we need
Mayer's all-rounder.
The reason why I'm doing that is because I look at Holder right now and he's not contributing with the bat at all, and he's also preventing us, because when you look at it, he bowls a lot of overs and he goes for a lot of runs, but he does. We struggle to, as I said this before, we struggle to take 10 wickets abroad. Away from home, we struggle to take 10 wickets. We took 10 wickets in the first session, but generally we struggle to take 10 wickets. We have bit part players, and I think Holder isn't he's only in the team because he can bat and he can bowl. He's not a specialist in anything. Neither is Chase and neither is Mayers. So you've got 3 players who one of them have to go.
I think Mayers is a specialist batsman. Whether he's good enough or playing good enough at the moment, I think is another matter. But I think he's a batsman. For me, Mayers is in the side for his batting. And if he's not batting well, then you drop it. I'm not having Mayers in the side as a bowler. Like, because when it comes to his bowling, it's good bowling. You end up with another Darren Sammy, who really was only in the team for his captaincy, because he wasn't really. He was a little medium pacer swinging the ball, and he's a good swing bowler. But for me, Mayers is there for his batting. Chase and Holder, I get.
Mash, you always criticize Chase, and I think Chase deserves to get criticism, bro. Yeah, I never hear like a consistent. Nobody ever criticized Jason Holder. It's like this dude is invincible, and I think this dude is just for the last year he's been absolutely horrible.
Because Mash is gonna get called an evasion hater.
Yeah, I've listened. So funny enough, I'm trying to see if I can get Jason Holder on to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. So I'm holding my fire at the moment because I know already that I'm going to get cussed out if he does come on. But let me just give some stats because Shane's point is actually valid. Here's Jason Holder's stats since 2022. So with the bat, he's batted 12 innings and he's made 149 runs at 13. Right, that's the bat. With the ball, he's in the 8 tests. He's taken 11 wickets at 57. All I'm saying is, if that was anybody else, the cuss out would be unreal. I'm not here to give an opinion. I'm just giving the stats.
I'll say this one thing, and I'll do this. This is to all the listeners. I will donate £200 to this channel if anyone can tell me the last time Jason Holder got out to a good delivery. This guy just gets out to deliveries that are just soft. Even today, he's playing down the wrong line. He gets caught at slip. Like, when was the last time this guy got out to a good delivery? That's what I want to know.
You know the thing is, Shane, when it comes to dropping Jason Holder, and I'm not against any player holding the drop when it's necessary. And I agree, based on his form, I think he's due a drop. My issue is West Indies cricket because certain players get dropped and you never see them again.
Yeah.
And certain players can't get dropped despite their form. And considering Holder was he was out of I think it was the limited overside for a while, kind of took a break, etc.
Yeah.
I'm just scared of Holder being dropped and disappearing into the ether. And I think he's
100%.
He's too good of a talent to lose from West Indies cricket. So because of how unstructured we are, I want to see Holder play himself back into form on this level, as opposed to go away, play himself into form and come back, because I have no confidence that if he goes away and plays himself into what we'll never see him play
Test cricket again. That'll be it.
And that for me would hurt more than persisting with Holder for the next few years and then failing after failing after failing, because there's so many players who have come through West Indies that are grass and just disappeared into the ether. When you look at what he's contributed to West Indies cricket, I kind of feel sorry for him. He was given the captaincy when he shouldn't have been given the captaincy. He was a premier all-rounder, and now he's got the pressure of leading the West Indies cricket team, which is the hardest team in world cricket to captain, even more so than India with all that pressure, because at least India have a structure and the talent to allow the captain to thrive. And I think I feel sorry for him. Look at Shea Hope doesn't necessarily deserve to come back in right now. I don't know, but it's just he's a player who's gone away to get form. I've never heard his name called again. And that's it.
Yeah, facts. Bravo and Bonner, they're gonna probably come back in. I'll be looking to take his space because there's no one else I would replace on the form. But I was gonna say before we come off, because I've been on for quite a while, so I'll let somebody else come on. But Mash, what I was gonna say though is, you spoke about why people are losing wickets in that last session. I think you also have to look at the actual session itself. So if you look at when South Africa was batting in that last session, they were actually trying to cash in on that last session. So I think that's why they lost a lot of wickets. I think when we lost a lot of wickets today, I think for the most part, I think we took some really good wickets. I think the Bavuma delivery was a really good delivery. The one that Roach bowled was a really good delivery. Obviously, Elgar got out the same way, but I think it was really good bowling. But I also think the balls that you see seam past the outside edge and miss because of the swing, it's actually not doing as much. So I think they're actually taking the nick instead of actually swinging past the ball. Because as the pitch starts to get a bit humid, you're not seeing the ball actually dip and swing across left, right, either side. And we can't say it's the new ball because when we got bowled out, we didn't even reach the new ball. It was the old ball that bowled us out. So I actually feel like a lot of those balls that were missing the edge were just doing enough, but also poor shot selection. Like I was so disappointed with the Silva. I was so disappointed with, and I
Let-
like
let-
him as well.
let-
I like
let
him
me-
as well.
Let me ask you the final thing I'll say on this. What is the maximum score that an optimistic West Indies fan can think that we can chase down?
280. I think 280 is maximum. 280 is at maximum.
For me, it's 250. 250, and I'm willing to bet recklessly that we can win. 280, and I'm watching and rallying, but I'm waiting for the collapse.
So we won't agree anything above 300 is
300 games done.
Game's done.
It was funny because when you had the South African podcaster on yesterday, and I think it was it Demo who said we can get up to 300, and he started laughing. And when he started laughing, I said, "Damn, this bowling attack, like they're serious." Because even as a rival fan, you're laughing at the fact that.
But you can be honest though. We should have got to 300 though. If you look at
you know what, I agree.
We should have actually got to 300 because
ain't that the story of West Indies? We should have, would have, could have.
But I think we actually can and I'll be honest when I say this, don't laugh. I think we can actually bowl them out for less than 150. I don't want to see the scattering bowling where we're just giving away runs in between wickets. If we actually keep it tight, I genuinely believe we can bowl them out for less than 150.
Let me ask one more on that then. Who should open the bowling tomorrow?
Alzarri, Joseph, and I'm going Joseph and
I've got my answer.
Obviously, Holder's going to finish his over. So unless he takes another wicket, you're thinking take him off probably.
You're not going to laugh when I give my answer, but I go,
Holder finishes over. Don't say
I see. Ideally, you want Joseph and Gabriel.
I think it should be Joseph and Mayers.
Okay.
I understand. I was thinking that. I was thinking.
I don't think Roach should open. For me, that's the one thing.
No, not Roach. So the effective argument for me is this: do you go Joseph and Gabriel because they are the two quickest bowlers? Yeah. But I just wonder, the one bowler you can probably trust out of all of them to put it on the same spot for like 3 consecutive, because we can't afford to go out there and then Markram's just licking the ball to the boundary inside the first 15 minutes, right? So I'm going to my one. Joseph's my attacking bowler, and Mayers is my put it on a spot and see if there's any movement out there, because you're the one bowler we've got who's got the greatest ability to extract swing and movement with the ball, right? And if he nicks one off, you're in the game. But if I give it to Gabriel is high risk, low reward.
I think
high
also
reward. I don't know.
On top of that, is it if that spell of Alzarri and Gabriel, if it doesn't blow the whole
you ain't got no one to turn to,
and then you've got no one to turn to. You got no fire after, so you kind of want to hold.
I would rather keep Gabriel to then turn to in the. Gabriel's my first change, and you say to him, right, go and see if you can batter a few bowlers out as well, dependent on what's happened in the with the first. I know what's actually going to happen. It's going to be Alzarri and Holder. That's what's actually going to happen.
You think Holder's going to carry on?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I think it's going to be
I think so. They met us. Which
it's much to do.
We'll vote them out for less than 100. Let's have the faith. We'll vote them out for less than 100.
We need to vote them out for less than 100 if we're going to be honest. But yeah, we'll see. It was a good day's cricket though.
120. I think 120 is reasonable, which would give them an extra 70 runs, which would mean that we'd have to chase 250.
I think if we have to chase 250, we win. I
actually think we win 250 as well.
I think you said 40% early in the stream, but I actually give ourselves 55% chance of winning. I think we will be slight favourites, especially because we're batting in that middle session. We bat in that middle session and we make 60 runs with only 1 wicket. Pressure's back on us, South Africa. Or maybe 70 runs, only 1 wicket. Pressure's back on South Africa. Because we got to make 150, 200 runs with, 9 wickets in hand? We should do that.
Okay, so effectively then, this is what we're saying. As we go to the next callers, effectively what we're saying then is this. For West Indies to win, we need to, A, bowl South Africa out for ideally somewhere between 120 to 150. Yeah. 2, West Indies need to be batting in the second, at the beginning, ideally, of the second session, but certainly for the majority of the second session. and then we can get to the end of play and assess the situation again.
Indeed, yeah.
But all of us acknowledge that the game could be over tomorrow and we've lost.
I'll bet on that. I'll be betting. I'll bet on that.
That's the safe money. That's the safe money.
Thanks for having me, bro. Thanks for having me, bro.
No worries, man. Thank you both for coming on.
Where's the link for the Discord? Let me join that.
It's in the video. Do you know what? Whilst the next person comes on, I'll put it in the chat as well. But it's in the video description underneath.
Yeah, I'll click that link. I'll click that link there.
Yeah. Cool.
All right,
thanks both of you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Sweet. Yeah. Right, we've got 3 people left for the live. Gosh, we're over the 1 hour mark, people. Don't let this go past midnight, people. I'm just the umpires have said that we can take the extra half hour. We can take the extra half hour. I've spoken to the umpires. They say a result is possible. So we will have 3 more callers. And then the show is over. Faraz, you're coming on. Yes, Faraz, how you doing?
Yo, morning, Mash. What's up?
How you doing, man? Morning, you know. These times I'm trying to go to bed.
Sorry, I forgot my bad, man.
How you doing? Sorry.
No, not too bad. I mean, another absorbing day of Test match cricket. You know,
yeah, for
the
sure.
game's moving at a fast pace for sure. And yeah, look, I think South Africa is still marginally ahead, but I mean, credit to the Windies. They keep fighting back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like I said at the top of the show, the easiest thing for them to do in the evening session would have been to just get completely destroyed. The game's over, heads are down. We come back tomorrow and we basically are waiting for the defeat. So, and it's kind of like what Neek said. They've, at various points in this test match so far, they've done just about enough to make the fans believe that we're still in the game. So on day 1, it was how we bowled in the back end. On day 2, it was how we bowled in the back end and Reefers and Blackwood's partnership. So, do you know what? I think I just have to reiterate what I said earlier on, Faraz. The game has been a lot closer than the 179-run deficit makes it look like it is at this moment in time.
I think the difference between the two sides is Aiden Markram, basically. The West Indies didn't have that sort of like batsman to go on and kick on with a score. I think Chanderpaul and Craig Burkett batted well for a bit, then just like obviously got out. I think the disappointing for the West Indies was it was a high formation for 2. I think what they would have been reasonable with was like keeping the lead down 100. Like let's say they get to 240, 250, and then South Africa are 90, 80 ahead, and now they'll currently be at least 130 for 4. And honestly, I'd put West Indies ahead at this point because South Africa don't really bat deep. We've seen the batting concerns. They've already lost half their side. I think the difference between this game right now is that if West Indies can get Aiden Markram out in the first 5 or 6 overs, I think they'll have no doubt like rolling the South Africa team over. But if Markram does bat well, it takes that one partnership to get away. And I've spoken to you about this yesterday. It's all about momentum. South Africa added 30, 40 runs to the extra tally, and now West Indies are all over them. Because right now they're going like, hang on a sec. You know what? Like they're under pressure. Like no one expected us to win this test match. South Africa are at home. You know, we just take a few wickets, feel like good about ourselves. I still think it'll be a bit tricky to chase down this target, but in a reasonable world, like you identified, anything under 300 is chaseable.
Yeah, I mean, we have to remember it's only day 3 tomorrow. So as much as the game has moved really quickly, it is only day 3.
Right, and normally today would basically be like the moving day of the test match.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I think ultimately, I think you're right to say Markram's only going to play one way tomorrow. It's going to be make quick runs and put the pressure back on the West Indian bowlers.
Right.
But do you know what? They can get away with not getting Markram out if they make inroads at the other end. So it doesn't have to be Markram or bust. It's just about opening up another end and chipping away. So I mean, we have to wait and see. I think after the first hour tomorrow, we'll pretty much know where this test match is going. I think that it shouldn't be that clear, but I think it will be that clear. Within an hour, we'll all know how this match is probably going to unfold. We'll still keep watching because by now, as a West Indies fan, you just watch till the bitter end anyway. But we'll know how the match is going to end.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. In fact, I think Klaasen, I don't know how much he made in the first innings, but he's a handy batsman. I think maybe why Markram is batting so it's probably because he's playing that attacking approach. Maybe, like instead of trying to build dots and put pressure on himself, he's just trying to attack the bowlers and he backs his confidence. I don't know if that applies to the rest of the batsmen. Maybe someone play some baseball cricket, but yeah, I think if West Indies can strike a few inroads in the early morning, and like you said, it doesn't have to be Markram. You can put pressure on Carson. He hasn't even faced the ball yet. So if you can try to put pressure, get him out, I think the fielding has to be on point tomorrow. Any extra runs can't be afforded to be given away. I think tomorrow I'll open up with probably Alzarri and Jason Holder. I think Kemar Roach isn't looking threatening at all on this surface away from home. He's a much different bowler to what he is. I wouldn't mind a few bowling changes. Maybe Carl May is in. I don't think Ross and Chase would work on this surface, but their batting isn't really deep. After Clarkson, there's not really anyone that's recognizable. I know they've got Centurion, but I don't think he's much proven. Marky Jansen can bat a bit, but can't make more than 30 at best at average. And then you've got to the bowler side. West Indies, if they can pick up a few wickets in the early morning, I think they're well on top in this game. Not saying that they'll win this game 100%, but they're in a really good chance because when they got bundled out, you probably think even if South Africa lost 1 to 2 wickets, they're well ahead at this point.
I wouldn't say that we'd be well on top, but we'd be back in the game,
right,
for sure, if we got 2 early wickets. But I mean, we wait and see. I suspect that. In fact, let me not even say. Let me just wait and see. Let's just wait and see how it unfolds. But I think, like I say, certainly if there's a live show tomorrow at the end of day 3, I don't think day 4 is going to be lasting long. Put it that way. Whatever happens tomorrow, I don't think day 4 is going to be a long day. By the end of day 3, one way or another, this test match is going to be very close to being over.
Do you sort of think that this test match could end itself today if West Indies get into a rabble and collapse? Do you think the test match could potentially be over today?
What, tomorrow? Day 3?
Yeah, if West Indies go into a shamble, because we've known their collapses before.
So do I think that West Indies could lose it tomorrow?
Right, like today, can the test match be over itself today?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'm not putting anything past West Indies. We could get bowled out for 57 and the game be over. I've learned enough now with West Indies that we have to expect anything to be possible. They could be bundled out and lose tomorrow. They could get to close of play tomorrow and have only lost 1 wicket. Anything could happen. You can never, ever be definitive in what's going to happen for West Indies, because just when you think they're absolutely useless, they go and do something to drag you back in and show you that they actually can play really well. So let's see.
Right. I'm a bit disappointed with Jason Holder. I think any runs from him would have been valuable. I don't know if you noticed, Machel, but I think his test average has dropped now to 28.
Yes, it has.
So it's a bit of a concern. I still think he's got enough talent in him to keep playing for the Windies. He's still an experienced campaigner. He's won a lot of games for them with a bat. It wasn't even that long ago. I think 2-3 seasons ago, he made 200 against England. So he's one of the best.
4 years ago. It's a long time now. That's 4 years ago.
Fair enough.
That's like when people say Roston Chase has got 5 test centuries, and then I always say, tell me when the last one was.
That's true.
So to be fair, but don't get me wrong, my take on Jason Holder is very simple. He can't be dropped. Simple. It's really that simple for me. I don't care what his numbers are. I don't care what the numbers say. Politically, in the region, he cannot be dropped.
It's equivalent to sort of like Shakib Al Hassan, you would say, for Bangladesh.
He cannot be dropped. He's done too much for West Indies cricket to ever be dropped. When Jason Holder leaves the West Indies team, it'll be on his terms. It won't be on your getting dropped from the West Indies team.
As much as I think Holder's out of form right now, I still think when he goes, it bridges more inexperience into the side. I don't think it benefits them too much because players go through this patch in their careers. I mean, Kohli in Test match cricket, he's averaged 29 for the last 2 years as well. Smith's not really scoring a few runs lately. So these things happen to a player, but it's about how they bounce back. I still think Holder has enough in him, but at times sort of running out. But like you said, there's really no pressure on him because he's not going to get dropped until he retires himself. Yeah,
100%. There's no pressure. Listen, Faraz, everyone's still queuing up, so I'm going to bring some more people on.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
No worries, man. Cheers. Thanks. Cosme, you're up next. I always wonder if I've said that right, by the way. Yes. How you doing?
What's up? Can you hear me okay?
All good, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I don't really have any.
Look at that. Wait a minute. Look at that cap. Well, talk to me about that cap.
eBay. I'm a new fan, so I'm out here scrambling for.
Is it
gear.
yellow and green?
Yeah, it's
What is it? A Guyana cap or something? What is it?
No, it's like an old. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I need to know what when you bought it, what era was it from? Like 1995 or something?
Well, I can find the listing to you and send you a DM. And
I need to know, man. I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen that one before. Anyone who's in the chat who knows what era that West Indies cap is from, I want to know. But anyways, yeah, sorry, man. Jump in.
No, it's all good. I just want to keep it short and sweet. I think that like trying to figure out who has the upper hand right now, what's going to happen. I think it's just like I'm still in a total wait and see mode for that. What I'm looking at when I'm watching the game is like, what do we know about the team? What's surprising us? What looks positive and what's not, right? So when I was like talking shit in the Discord channel, I'm like, this game is on 3 axes, right? It's like the bowling attack, the openers, and the middle order.
Yeah.
We know their bowling attack is better. We know that it's better. So, like, let's see what our bowling attack can do. We think it's okay. Are there positives there? Great, right? Our openers are showing signs of improvement. Like, that's a good partnership. Craig got out to like an unplayable ball.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do, right? And Tage is like still like trial by fire, like doing as well as he can. Give him another innings. You can assess whether he had a good game or not after the second innings. Middle order we know sucks, so it's like really a battle of like whose middle order is less shit, and we go from there. So positives for me. If Alzarri like continues the way he's going, like it could be a real like coming of age moment as like the leader of the attack, right? Like because he need like Roach and Gabriel are useful, but they are old in the tooth and they can't lead the attack much longer, I think. And so like him really just like, I mean, if he takes another wicket, like it's 8 wickets in the match, it's like really, really good. So that's signs of positivity for me there. Even if nothing else happens, even if like they kind of just like the game kind of gets away from them, like that's really good for me. We'll see about the openers. Like we'll see if they can do anything in the second innings. What I really want to see from the middle order is just like people playing the situation.
Yeah.
I think I missed the like period between Reefer and De Silva just because it's like the game starts at 3 a.m. here, so I'm doing the best I can. But that wicket from De Silva was just so disappointing. It's just like, dude, what do you do? It's like you just like you're just in. You and Mayers are just in. You know what Mayers is gonna do? Mayers is gonna play his shots.
Yep.
Like your role is kind of this back end anchor. Like that's what he does.
Yeah.
And here you are like flashing at a shot, flashing at a ball like off stone. I don't know.
So, it was very much out of the ordinary for sure.
So I just want so to wrap it up, I guess it's just like great signs of positivity for the bowling attack. Alzarri like taking his role as the leader, everybody chipping in, like Gabriel being healthy, Roach being healthy at the same time I think is a big deal. And like people are not really talking about that. I think it's a really big deal, especially if you get Seals back in and we're talking about like folding in some other players. Like anyway, so I think that's great. I just like really want to see the middle order just like play with some sense. Like if you get out to a good ball, like a good ball, you get out to a good ball, but just like don't just like play the game situation. So my assessment of the game at the end, what win or lose will be really about whether that middle order can just like do the right thing, even if they're getting out.
Yeah. Do you know what? What I'll just say to that is if it turns out that West Indies don't win, whether it be day 3, day 4, whatever, I'm fine with that if Blackwood, Chase, Mayers, who am I missing out? De Silva and Holder. If they stand up and accounted and we just so happen to lose, let's say by anything under 50 runs, I think everybody would just turn around and go, you know what, fair enough. Fair enough. We tried. We battled. We took it as deep as we possibly could. 2 or 3 players put their hands up, and it wasn't the usual. It wasn't the usual characters who did it. It wasn't Craig having to hit a century. It wasn't Tage having to show that.
Yeah, you're looking for them to surprise you, to play above their station. Yeah.
Yeah. You want somebody else, and that means the middle to lower order, to be the hero. That's what I think people want to see. And all the while it doesn't happen, the question marks about the middle order will forever go on, about their suitability, because you have to see them. You have to see the range of people who can lead West Indies to winning Test matches or bringing them close to the brink of winning has to be wider than Craig Brathwaite. If you see,
no, I completely agree. There's just no, for me, there's no positive. I'm not expecting anything surprising from the middle order, right? Like, I'm not expecting anything surprising from a converted all-rounder who's now batting 3, to be just all of a sudden become like a specialized batter. You know, like, even though he's playing well, like, that's great. Like, you know, keep going, but I'm not expecting anything. So I want to be surprised. I want the middle order to surprise me. And I'm like, I think exactly what you said is correct. Just like somebody to win the game. Just like somebody put your hand up and win the game. Because we've seen the bowling attack do it in Test Pass. We've seen the opening pair nearly do it in Australia. You know, or like, you know, at least do something really special. And I haven't seen that from the middle order in my short period of watching cricket. So,
and to be fair, fundamentally, the other thing that people might miss in all of this, it's also about, never mind the first test, it's also there's a right way to end a test match, and part of that is about making sure that when the second test starts, South Africa have something to think about. So obviously we all want West Indies to win, but if they don't happen to win, there should be question mark. That we should at least be leaving the test match with South Africa thinking, oh, snap, that was a lot closer than we thought it was going to be. West Indies are actually a problem. That like, you at least need to create that scenario to make them have to go away and think about their bowling plans and so on and so forth. So I think it's kind of goes back to what Rahul said, sorry. There are ways to lose a test match. Ideally win it, but there's a way to lose it that actually forces your opponent to go back to their own drawing board. So at worst case scenario, or sorry, if we don't win, that would be the best case scenario, I should say. So, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Listen,
that's really all I've got. Yeah.
We got 3 last people. I'm going to try and fit them in.
No worries.
Lest they try and say that the last half hour goes on for an hour. But thank you for coming, and thank you for waiting first and foremost. And thank you for coming on.
No sweat on no sweat. Thanks for all you do, Mash. Take care.
I'll see you in the Discord chat tomorrow.
For sure.
We'll talk our shit in that Discord chat.
No problem. Yeah, see you there.
Take care, man. RM, I don't know who RM is. It just says RM, but you're up. RM, hello.
Hey, Mash.
Yeah, how you doing?
Doing well, man. This is Richard. Mr. Mutu.
Of course. Yeah.
How you doing, man? Sir, I don't have my thing on. I'm sitting in the car here because I dropped my kid off to basketball.
Right, okay. Now it makes sense. Welcome, Richard.
How you doing, Mash? So I'll make it quick, and I have only a few points because my kid will be looking for me shortly. Anyway, Chase at 5. Come on, man. Surely we have a better batter in the whole of the Caribbean to bat at 5. Come on.
I don't know how he's made it back so easily. I genuinely... And here's the thing. I just want to go on record, Richard, as saying, I'm not actually... I think some people think I'm anti-Roston Chase. It's not even about that for me. It's just that nothing would please me more than Roston making runs tomorrow or in the second test or whatever. But I just think that selectors have kind of created a rod for their own back, because anybody with cricket sense in the region or outside the region will all ask the same question. They'll all be like, how did Chase get back into the top 5? His test match average is 27. What on earth is What's going on?
He was just at number 8 in Australia. I don't know what is going on, and maybe he has some pictures on Brathwaite and the rest of them, but I have no clue. But surely we gotta do better at number 5. Me, Alzarri, bowling with that venom. That was a sight to see. I'll be honest with you. Him just taking the ball and just running in and steaming in.
Yeah.
Yesterday on your show, you had said somebody had tweeted, how could he spearhead the attack without a fifer? Here's your fifer.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. 100%.
And you could see the mantle just being handed over, right? I'm not seeing much from Roach. If it's not a lefty, I'm not giving Roach a ball.
Yeah,
simple as that.
As people said yesterday, I think when the tour is done, I'm gonna have to do a video on Kemar Roach but it'll be respectful. But I think you kind of like how England stopped playing Broad and Anderson in all conditions and in all test matches. I think we're going to have to start doing that with Kemar, where we still have him around because his knowledge is invaluable to the youngsters coming through. And there are certain test matches where he should still play, more than likely at home. But I think we now just need to be a bit smarter. It's going to be put it this way, it's going to be very, very interesting if he keeps his spot for the second test. So we have to wait and see.
I agree with that statement. But my feeling is he probably keep his spot because I think they're going to take Gabriel out, seeing as he's in the ODI squad.
Yeah, that's
what hopefully
by that.
Yeah, hopefully by that time Moti's better and he's back in the squad.
That seems the most likely change, unless they gamble and bring in Akeem Jordan. Who knows, man. But lots of people have been speaking about what they'd like to see happen and what's realistic. What do you think is realistic for tomorrow?
Wow, that 280. Anything more than 280, I think we're done for.
So we have to bowl. So you're saying as well they've got to be bowled out for 150 or less.
Yeah, 100, like 280 is like the max. Like, and we have to pull some rabbits out of our hat to get to 280. Because their bowling attack is serious. They have a serious bowling attack.
Yeah, 280 just seems a bit extreme, to be honest. I just don't. I already think that 250 is extreme. Never mind 280.
Anything is possible, Mash. Anything with this West Indies team. You know, Mayers could go out there and hit a 150 in no time. Who knows? Last point I'll make. I'll give Jason his flowers, honestly. But how long can we go on with his form? And I understand what Neeks was saying. If we drop him, we may never see him again. And I think that's where, are we at a point where is it time to let that era of the Roach, the Jason, the Gabriel out and bring in the new ones, the Akeem Jordans and those guys? I don't know. I'm not sure. Let me just put it that way. But
okay, I'm gonna answer that by changing up I'm actually now changing my response about Jason to this. Jason isn't done, but if Jason believes that he's still got a career in Test cricket, he's going to have to reinvent himself. I think the challenge is now in Jason's court here, right? So in the same way how over the last year and a half to 2 years, Jason has reinvented his white ball skill set. So now he's a highly valued white ball player, IPL, PSL, all the different leagues, right? Or SA20 that he was recently in. He was able to reinvent himself in white ball cricket to become a highly sought after league talent, right? If Jason still believes in the primacy of Test cricket and still has goals and ambitions, then I think Jason would have to look at himself and say, you know what, it's time for another career reinvention, if that makes sense. Do you follow?
Me personally, I think he's given his white ball career more precedence than the red ball career at this stage. And I think he's looking for the bag, and I can't doubt him. I mean, He's given West Indies cricket. He's been a very good player, a very good leader. Whatever that we've asked of him, he's done. I think it's time that maybe he does kind of be a little bit selfish and start looking after himself a little bit and go after the bag of money.
Well, this is why I'm saying, so if he does leave Test cricket, it would be on his terms, and it would be him saying, like, to be fair, Jason's 31. If Jason turned round at the end of 2023 and said, respectfully, I'm now retiring from international cricket. I will continue to play white ball cricket for the West Indies, but my body can't really hack into the rigors of international of Test cricket anymore. I'd also like the freedom to I think everybody in the region would say, you know what? Thank you. And they'd say it respectfully as well.
Absolutely.
So I think it's all on Jason. I think it's on Jason's terms. It's about Jason and how much hunger he's still got for the Test game. And that's not me saying he doesn't have any. I'm saying he has to ask himself that. And if he's still got that ambition, then I trust Jason to reinvent himself and have a late career surge in the format. But I'll leave it in Jason's court.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And you know what? I think a lot of people haven't been calling for Jason just because it's Jason.
Yes, Jason.
If it was any other player, if it was, one of those players who play T20 cricket around the world, there would have been a lot of cussing. Let me just say, a lot of cussing.
100%. I cannot deny it, man. But Richard, thank you, man.
Anyway, we'll be in touch. We'll take care. God bless.
Yeah.
And we got to do something with our extras, though. Too many extras. Anyway.
Listen, let's watch day 3 and see how it unfolds.
Yeah, God bless.
Cool. Yeah, no worries. Before I go to sci-fi cricket, which I believe will be Andrew, and then DJ Mystic, which I believe is Neeks' brother. Before I go to those two to finish the show, I just want to bring this comment on the screen because both sci-fi and DJ Mystic may want to come in on it as well. Colin, thank you. Blackwood is inconsistent. I'm not doubting that. But check this out. Mayers is more inconsistent than Blackwood with the bat. So if we're dropping Blackwood, you have to drop Mayers as well. So I don't mind this argument if we're going to keep it consistent and say, well, that Mayers must get a drop as well. Arguably, if we're going to go even deeper, you could look at Blackwood at 4, Chase at 5, and Mayers in 6 and say all of them should hold a drop if we're going to be really consistent. So I don't know. I'm not anti the argument. I'm just saying that if Blackwood is the benchmark for inconsistency, then a lot of players are going to be holding a drop is effectively what I'm saying there. Yes, sci-fi cricket. Let's bring him on. Yes, Mr. Sci-Fi.
How you doing, Mash? Yeah, it's Andrew, man. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Good. You know what? Realistically, after 2 days, who would have believed if you talked before the Test match that we'd be talking about the West Indies potentially could be in a position to win a game?
That's true.
And that is something that we should always hold up and say, you know what? There might have been things that hadn't gone right in this Test match up to now, but we're there. We're getting there. We're getting there, and we should celebrate that. We should say, yeah, good,
Yeah, and actually, going further on that point, I think the disappointment, part of the disappointment that people have about day 2 in terms of the batting is that when you look at the trajectory of this side under Craig, on the whole, apart from when South Africa demolished us in 2021 and obviously Australia away, but on the whole, the side has actually developed this knack of being really hard to beat. Like under Craig, we don't just like wilt and die in matches. And I think part of the disappointment that people would have had today is that we'd shown in the first half of the batting, we'd shown that same characteristic. So actually, I actually believe, Andrew, that people were more shocked that we were 169 for 3 and looking comfortable. And then when we then collapsed to 212, I think people were like, but we were showing those signs again that we're a different kind of side. And I think it was more the shock of, we've still got this in our locker. Do you see what I mean? And I think it was more of that. So in a roundabout way, I guess what I'm getting at is it actually reflects the high standard that we now hold the test side at, that we were surprised that this happened today. Whereas the old, like some of the old sides we've watched in the last 20 years or so, if this had happened, we would have been like, oh, well, that's what they do. Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely. And, some of the application that was shown by Reefer, and I don't know whether that's got a bit to do with BCL being there, because they're both left-handers. He might have been saying to him, technique-wise, whatever. And then we come on to Blackwood. Now, you asked a question about Blackwood there. Jermaine, I thought, batted okay today. He looked quite good, and he was timing the ball and tried his best to keep the ball on the ground, and that's been the real problem with Jermaine. And his dismissal was reckless, to be honest with you, because he had already got a very similar ball from Nocta. He got that similar ball, and it went right through him, and he didn't have to play that shot. Now, I guess I have a soft spot for Blackwood because he's Jamaican, and I'm of Jamaican heritage, But let's talk about chasing totals, because Blackwood, when we have won test matches against teams like England, and I think it might have been against, I can't remember if it was Pakistan or Sri Lanka, has been one of the main men chasing the runs for us.
Yep.
He's a man. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
No, you're right. Carry on.
Yeah, he's the kind of man that you have to say, if we're chasing like 230, 240, which I hope we will do, I hope we open with Alzarri and Carl Mayers after Jason's had his over, because I think that's the best way forward. But if we're chasing a total of about 220, 230, Blackwood could be the man, because Blackwood could, as he's shown in the past, he has the resilience, if you like, but also the ability to move the runs on. That could put us not only in a position where we're getting closer to the target, but unsettle the other the bowling team. So, and all right, so he made 37 today, and that's not great, So in the context of West Indies batting recently, I say recently, over the last few years, making 37, I'd be happy if every time one of our batters went out and made 37.
Do you know what? When he got out, that's exactly what went through my head. Because I was looking at it going, okay, 37 is subpar. But if you take 37 as somebody's average for a West Indian batter, if like that was the average, you'd be like, you know what? If the whole top order got 37, I'd probably be happy with that.
Absolutely. And then we come on to tomorrow, and we really need to get them out for about 120, 130 to have a realistic chance. We need our batting to fire. We need people to put their hands up. We might need going down to someone even like Jason to actually put his hand up. And coming on to Jason, I just think his batting, his technique is not there anymore. There's something missing. It was interesting the way he got out today, where the ball was moving away from him and his bat was at an angle. There's no way that he was going to be able to play that ball down in the ground. That wasn't straight. And I remember seeing him make his double 100 at Kensington a few years ago, and the man was playing straight. He was looking to actually put the full face of the bat to the ball, and that's about his technique. And you can't say no man is not droppable. And it is about how we manage that, because we want him to come back and be better than he has been in the last few tests. And that's down to the management, I'm afraid. The management have got to speak to him and say, look, man, maybe you need a break, but we need you. We need you.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Go back and work on what you need to work on and get your mind straight, if that's the problem. The ball is then in Jason's court if he wants to do that. But, we can't, it's almost like in a weird kind of way, a bit like the Chase situation, because Chase seems to just be undroppable. Undroppable. And we can't have that kind of thing, even with someone of Jason's kind of vintage and caliber. If you're not doing the thing, then you're not doing the thing,
and that's correct. Do you know what? That is correct. I think I have no confidence that Cricket West Indies, or selectors rather, would manage the situation properly. But one thing is very clear to me. By the time this South Africa series ends, there are at least, I'd say, okay, I think the following 4 players could well be at the end of this South Africa series finding their place on the question, right? If they don't produce. Chase, Blackwood, Mayers, and Holder. If none of them produce in this series in a good sense, I think there is an argument to say that any one of the 4 of them, if not all of them, could arguably be dropped from the side. I don't think it will happen, but if we're thinking about things in the right way, and if we're saying that you must perform to keep your spot, then I think all 4 of them could come under significant pressure.
Yeah, totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah, and just one last thing about tomorrow and the projected chase that we might have to put on. Let's be clear, man. All the wickets that have fallen after tea. If we're going to chase runs, A, we need to get them out early tomorrow, and B, we got to make the bulk of our runs between then and tea.
Yeah,
you know, we can't. You know, we talk about Tage and and Craig batting grind ball and trying to wear it out. That ain't going to work tomorrow, I don't think, because come tea, that ball starts doing things, or even the ball starts doing less, but it might be doing too much to take wickets earlier, but it might be just doing enough.
Just enough, just enough
to get the edge.
Yeah,
or just sort of
just nibbling that tiny bit more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
either way, we can't start batting at tea time.
No.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Because then we ain't having a day 3 live chatting for you to bust up your head about.
So yeah, that
midnight.
Us batting at the start of tea is South Africa's prime desire. Yeah. Their perfect game plan tomorrow is bat quickly and bat until tea. We'll be batted. By then we'll be out of the game, and then they get to bowl at the best time. So it'll be very, like I say, that first hour will tell us pretty much what's going to happen for the rest of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm there tomorrow, man.
As ever, we rally all the time.
Absolutely. Nice one, man. Take care.
Yeah, wicked. Take care, yeah? Right, people, one final guest, and then the show is over. I said 1 hour, you know. You lot have taken the extra half hour. DJ Natural Mystic is going to close the show off. 112 of you in the live, people. I haven't even checked the likes. Press like if you haven't done so. I'm doing all of this now before DJ Natural Mystic comes on, because once he's finished, I'm just locking off the show. Press like, subscribe, become a patron, join the Discord, all of that. Do all of that. DJ Natural Mystic's coming on to end the show. Yes, Mr. Mystic.
You hear me?
I can hear you. All good, man.
Yeah, sorry, I was using my phone before, but I'm using my computer now, so
time
it don't work as well, innit?
Yeah. No, you're all good, man.
Yeah, boy, West Indies, man. You have to have a good heart. Yeah, you have to have a healthy heart to watch West Indies cricket, man. It's crazy. What I will say is this: I think that I've always over the years, South Africa is the one team that I really don't like watching West Indies play, because throughout my life, they've given us the biggest beating throughout my life. Like they've destroyed us. And I spoke to somebody from South Africa who actually gave me an insight into what may have been one of the reasons why. I won't go into it right now, but he gave me a very interesting insight. What I will say is, back in the day, those in South Africa of the darker hue didn't support South Africa when West Indies came to town.
That is true, yes.
They supported West Indies for political reasons. And there was an extra venom in the South Africa team when they was playing the West Indies. I don't know if you remember, there was a comment that Brian Lara made after West Indies lost to Kenya many years ago. And he made some comment to say, like, better Kenya than South Africa or something like that. He said after a game. So there has been that history to it. So
Uh-oh.
It's feared playing because I think we feared. We good?
Yeah, you're good now. You're good now.
Hello?
Yeah, you're good. You're
Yeah,
good.
I think we fared better against Australia over the years than South Africa. But so I was pleasantly surprised how we fared so far in this game. I think so far it's actually been better than what I expected. So for that, I'll give thanks. Right now we know our bowling is not as bad as we are batting is at. So there's an expectation for us to fill with the bat. I think the bowlers, you kind of expect at any point something may come good with the bowlers. I don't know if you watch during lunch they had the Curly Ambrose interview during lunch today.
No, I missed the lunch interval today.
Very interesting interview, and he made a statement where he said that when him and Curly
Courtney
Walsh was bowling, he said they got to a stage where they knew each other, and he said I knew if it was my day, he knew if it was his day. If I'm at one end taking wickets, Walsh knew that it was his job to soften up the batsman and keep the runs low. And if he's taking wickets, I knew what my job was. And I don't think we've got that in the team at the moment. And I think the best we've seen so far is that we've seen Joseph steaming in. But there's someone like Gabriel at the other end who can still soften up the batsman.
Yeah.
The problem we've had over the years is Joseph is steaming in, and then you get some gentle 78s from the other end from Roach. So the batsman always knows all we got to do is see off Joseph. And we know we're going to get a little let up on the other end. So this time we've actually had some excess pace from both sides. I don't think we can, going forward, have Roach and Gabriel playing in the same test.
I would agree. I think on yesterday's live show, so our test schedule after this series is over, our next tests are in June or July versus India, right? A 2-test match series. And then we don't play tests again until the start of 2024 when we go back to Australia. Now, what I have said, and the thing is, I'm already thinking like this. I bet selectors aren't thinking like this. By that series in Australia, we should probably have phased out the idea of taking Roach and Gabriel away from home. So I would expect whatever our future bowling lineup is going to look like, they should be going to Australia in 2024. So, because to me, that's called succession planning. You're not just taking man. Next thing you know, now man's retired, and you never did a normal transition. You just waited till the players. You know what I mean?
With two of them in the squad, or not even in the squad, on the field at the same time. The problem we have is neither of them are durable. So you're always at risk of one of them going down at any time. So I don't think it makes cricketing sense to play the two of them. The issue we have is who's there to replace them is injured.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the other issue. We're trying to guard them from injury, but the guys who are supposed to replace them, they're also injured. Not to go on too long, my issue for tomorrow now, I don't have a major issue with the bowling because I think the bowling can come good at any point. And I don't think we can just say that South Africa was going at it. It was day 2. So there was no need for South Africa really to go all guns blazing because they've got time. I think we didn't bowl as well as we could have, but we bowled well.
Yeah.
And we got the wickets, and I think tomorrow it's just more. I've got confidence that the bowlers are actually going to go out and try. The issue with our batting, I believe, because a few people, I think Shane said earlier that he wants to see the batsmen get out and not throw away their wicket. My position is that what we're calling throwing away their wicket is them actually getting out.
Yeah,
we've got serious flaws in technique in West Indies cricket.
It's true.
We're looking at it and saying
what?
they throw away their wicket.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And do you know whose dismissal today is an exact replica of what you're saying? Jermaine Blackwood, to me, threw his wicket away today. But that was him just trying to play the shot. That wasn't even to him. That wasn't loose. That was him saying,
Right.
"Boy, that ball's there to be hit." But to me, it looked like it was.
and this is where I'm making. And I don't criticize Chris Gill, yeah. But when we used to say Chris Gill threw away his wicket, he didn't. Chris Gill never threw away his wicket. He just had a flawed technique.
Yeah.
And he played within his technique. We've got a batting lineup of flawed technique. So what we're saying is them throwing away their wicket is them actually batting to the best of their ability. And we talk about Jermaine Blackwood. He reminds me, not fully, but similar to Keith Arthurton back in the day. Now, Keith Arthurton was never tasked of carrying West Indies batting lineup.
Yes, yeah, good point.
But a 70 from Keith Arthurton, you had done well.
Yeah.
What you wanted was a 40-50 from to hold up an end. What we're asking Blackwood to do is be Carl Hooper and be Brian Lara.
Yeah.
That's not who he is. But because of the
that's a good point. Good point.
That the expectation is there. Now, where the Florida West Indies cricket is, we've got the likes of Shea Hope, we've got the likes of Darren Bravo, we've got the likes of Pooran and Hetmeyer. When in any other nation, those men are they're who's anchoring West Indies cricket and batting right now.
Yeah.
If they was from anywhere else, all of those men that I just named would be stars, and that would be the West Indies batting lineup. But for some reason, West Indies over the years have continued to do well at the under-15s, continue to do well at under-19s, and can't transfer that into the senior team. We can name countless players who are tearing it up for under-19s and under-15s, and we can't see any of them now. So there is this issue. The last point I'm going to make is Holder. I'm a Holder fan, have been a Holder fan from the under-19s, and I believe that I did say in the comments a while ago, the thing with Holder is similar to what we saw with Darren Sammy. They're never going to be disrespected, no matter how poor their form gets, because they carried West Indies cricket through periods when there was so much issues and so much problems and issues between the players and the board and whatever. And they carried us through that. And not only carried us, but carried us with dignity. They made us feel proud of West Indies cricket. Even when we lost, the way they handled themselves on the field, they carried West Indies cricket in a certain way. So we're always going to have that emotional attachment to them because they've been our stars. We haven't had a Sehwag or a Glenn McGrath or nothing like that of recent to speak of. There was a time when Brian Lara couldn't buy a run. And if you remember this time when he was jumping all over and when Harmison and Flintoff was peppering him. And no one ever called because Lara meant something to us. And as strange as it sounds, of recent time, Darren Sammy and Jason Holder have been like our Brian Lara. They've been like our Ambrose and our Walsh. And we're always going to have that affinity with them. So it may take a discussion between Jason Holder and the board and whatever to say, listen, where are we going with this? But I do think it's going to have to be his decision. The question is, where do we go after Jason Holder? Yeah, I want to see Hope back in the team. The man's got too much talent to not be playing Test cricket. I don't know if it makes sense even bringing Darren Bravo back. I don't know. And maybe an unpopular opinion, I want to see De Silva dropped. I don't think he adds anything. I know we had a little interaction on I think it was Twitter one time when I was calling for Dowrich to come back, and you was asking me what has Dowrich done to earn his place back in the team. But I'm saying for me, at least when Dowrich steps out onto the wicket, you actually believe he's going to do something. At no point am I confident that when De Silva comes out with the bat, he's going to do anything. And I don't think he's a great wicket keeper either. So I think we're better off. I'm not hearing you,
Sorry, I'm on mute. Sorry. I'm intrigued by that one, I'm intrigued. Listen, we're going to have to get into that one. We're going to have to get into that one on another show in proper depth. But what I will say about whether the Dowrich argument, whether Holt, whether Hetmeyer, Pooran, etc., I will say this. from the minute we called Roston Chase back with no justification to get him back in the side, my thing now is anybody can get in the side. I don't care what they've done. I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, I don't care what runs. I don't care if they've played any red ball cricket. Anybody now can just get in the side. If you think they've got talent, anybody should now be able to get into the side no matter what, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm a Chase fan in it, so I'm always going to disagree on that point. I'm a Chase fan. I think he's done his bit. He always gets his wickets here and there with the ball. What he's been tasked with, we have a way in West Indies of destroying people's careers.
Yeah,
and
I agree. No, I agree with that.
Listening to commentary one time with Michael Holding, and he was speaking about Xavier Marshall. When he came in batting 4, then he was batting 3, then he was batting 6, and they had him open the batting, and he was getting out like in the first over in about 3. And I remember Michael Holding's words were, "What a way to destroy a young man's career and destroy his confidence."
Yeah.
And we do it with so many players. A player like Roston Chase, who's got a good cricketing brain, but can't settle in the team because you're asking him to do a different thing every game.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I agree with you on that.
Remember when Jerome Taylor made a century?
Yep.
They thought, let's fling him up to 6 the next game. Same thing happened with Amari Banks.
Yep.
Made a 90. Let's fling him up to 6 the next game. Rather than say, you know what, we've got a man who can bat 7, 8, 9, who can actually do a job. Let's keep him there and task the man them who, like, I think, who is it that always says it? It might be Holding again. If you're 1 to 6 or you're 1 to 5, can't get the job done, forget about 7 onwards.
Yeah.
The people who you pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's their job really to get the job done. 6,
I
7,
completely agree.
Yeah, 6, 7, hold up and end. And the rest of them, if we need you to hold up and then, like, you know, like back in the day when, you've got Sarwan trying to get his century, and then you got Fidel Edwards at one end, hold up and end. If we need to hold up and that, but now, like we said earlier, and a few people have said, we're sitting there with West Indies 8 down, needed 270 to win, and thinking, boy, you know what? Joseph's quite handy with the bat, you know. Like Roach could, if Joseph gets going and Roach holds up the end, like me, and we're looking at the man them above that, and then we're seeing them with 20, 15, 9. And then you know what we do afterwards? Joseph plays a rush shot and gets out, and we say, look at the stupid shot that Joseph played.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. But
job.
then what you're ultimately raising there, and this is, I mean, I'll wait until this test match is over, but there is a big debate that probably needs to happen. It'll probably happen after this test series is over, but there is a big debate to be had about the West Indies top 6. And fundamentally, like, don't get me wrong, Raymond Reefer has capitalized on his chance, right? 350s in a row. But our top 6 is Craig, Tage, Reefer, Blackwood, Chase, Mayers. At least you could argue that Reefer, Blackwood, Chase, and Mayers, you could argue that none of them really get the job done in the way you're supposed to get the job done, right? And this is why before the series started, I said West Indies' success in this series will come down to if anybody in the middle order puts their hand up. And the reality of the situation is this. When West Indies win, largely speaking over the last year, it's been because Craig Brathwaite has laid a platform or batted through an innings or done whatever he's done, yeah? And now, as of late, he's got Tage now, somebody who's very similar to him. But we aren't, our biggest weakness for me as a side is whenever we get to the middle order, we're all standing, so we're all watching going, boy, can anybody get 40? And that... And the fact that I'm just saying 40, I'm not even saying 50. I'm never saying 50. I won't ever say 100. I'm just looking, going, boy, can someone get to 40 today and maybe do a little piece for us? And until we can get to a point where we can look at our middle order in any one match and go, yeah, I reckon he might be the one who gets 100 today. We can't have those conversations yet because we're still thinking who can get to 40 or 45. So that I think that's a significant weakness.
On a positive though, I think we've been searching for a partner for
Craig
for a while, and it appears we've got one. Again, Zimbabwe is not the best litmus test, so we have to see how this goes and the next one goes. But I think let's start there. There's an African proverb that says, "To count sun, you start from where you stand." So we kind of have
piece by piece.
Yeah. So we've got an opening partnership that we can work with. All right. So let's look at a number 3 now. Let's look at getting our
exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's the best we can do. The issue is an issue that you've raised, and I think it's one that we need a campaign for it. Is that the issue that we have going forward is we're not playing enough Test cricket, and not enough Test cricket against the big nations. I guess we've spent years playing or seeing Test cricket against big teams and getting absolutely slaughtered. So we're used to it. So this is a big issue now going for that. The young players coming through, they're not even getting the experience against the best. The only experience against the best they're getting is in T20 when they're going around the world and playing. So our Test cricket is going to be, not just us, but the lesser nations. We're always going to continue to be affected because we're not playing enough Test cricket. And I think it's something that you've mentioned a number of times on Twitter. And I think it's a campaign that, as the channel grows, I think that needs to be part of the campaign of the channel. Because how can West Indies and other nations reach the levels of the bigger fish in the game if we don't have the opportunity to actually play substantial games against them? So we're going to bring in these guys for 2 tests, and then they're not going to play no Test cricket again until next year.
Yeah. It's madness.
We're not playing much 4-day cricket, and we know the standards of our 4-day cricket is not great either.
Yeah.
So
listen.
Yes, King.
Mr. Mystic. As ever, this show started 2 hours ago. I said it was going to be a 1-hour show, but we've doubled the time. Listen, come through again, you know. But I'm gonna call this one here. But thank you as ever for coming through. Yeah.
No problem, family.
No problem. Thank you, people. You've done it to me again. You promised me that this would only go for an hour, and look at this. midnight. The show's just coming to an end. But you know what? We move. It's strike day tomorrow in England for all the teachers. So I'm all right, to be fair. I'm all right. Let me go get my sleep. Thank you all for coming through. Before you go, like the video, share it with somebody new who doesn't know about the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Subscribe to the channel. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Carib Cricket. You can find us on Discord. The link to the Discord channel is in the video below. If you want to become a patron of the show, go to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. And yeah, keep following the movement, people. We'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow for day 3 as we get closer to West Indies winning a Test match in South Africa. Rally around the West Indies, people, and I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.